Hey guys, we're back with another episode of Magic the Gathering Duels of the Planeswalkers 2015. Are you ready, Nick, for some Magic of the Gathering?
Wow, you started that like you're doing a bit of a Southern lilt thing, and then you ended up in that.
Yeah, it got real weird, real fast. That tends to happen when I intro the Magic series.
I thought you were gonna go like low theater mode, and then it was like all the way up.
Yeah, I thought I was too, and then it went into a different direction, sometimes that happens.
Can't deny the, fever for the flavor, as they say.
And the desire for big booty.
Yeah, I mean, you can't quell that. It just lives within all of us, somewhere deep, dark, down a hole.
Deep, dark, down a hole. Deep, dark, down a hole. I said a deep, dark, down a hole.
Oh,
deep,
fuck.
Dark, down a hole.
All right, well, I guess a mulligan to 5 then, or 6 then.
I'm going to keep a really trolly hand, Nick. And
I don't care.
I hope it works out for me. And
if
it doesn't...
arugula.
Oh, dude, I like arugula. Actually, I don't know if I like arugula. I don't know what arugula tastes like. Although, you know what I made today, Nick?
You made a hot dog with a mango chutney.
Well, yes, the mango chutney was on the side as a dip for the premiere thing that I made, which is the first time I ever made this, was double fried French fries.
See, I didn't want to spoil the big reveal, so I let you have that one.
That's the big one. I made a double fried French fries, and let me tell you, they are bomb.
BAF or just bomb?
No, they're bomb AF. For sure.
All right, you gotta include the AF.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's true.
You'd be like, well, I was gonna make those double fried fries, but Rob said they're just bomb, so
yeah, that's
fuck
an excellent point. But yeah, no.
Austin's all right, by the way.
No,
audience.
he's dead.
He's all right. He just got really addicted to FTL all of a sudden.
Dead, all right. Yeah. Yeah, he did. But, yeah, no, double fried French fries. You ever make French fries, Nick?
Oh, I've taken them out of bags and reheated them in the oven. Yeah, I've done that for sure.
You never made homemade French fries? It's actually really easy to make.
You cut up the potato, right, and then fry them. I don't have, like, a deep fryer, though.
You don't need a deep fryer. You just need
use a pan and oil?
Yeah, just pan and oil.
It's, sputtering and stuff, spattering. I'm not into that so much.
It's not that bad, actually. But, because the way that you're supposed to cook them is you're not actually supposed to, the heat's not supposed to be that high. Can I give you a quick rundown of how you double fry French fries?
I mean, you can. I don't know if it's going to do a lot for me as a person.
So you chop up your potato. First you clean it, obviously. Get the dirt off of that shit. So
take out the eyes, if there's any eyes.
Take out the potato eyes. Yeah, anyway, you chop up your potato into, like, whatever size fries you like. I like them particularly thin, personally. And then you suck on my dick. No, and then you put them in a bowl of water for like a half an hour. You can keep them in there for up to 8 hours if you want, but I don't. And yeah, you keep them in the bowl for a half an hour to get the starch out of them, so that they can get crispier. Then you go on a lower heat oil, like 275 to 325, and you blanch them. So you don't cook them until they get, like, crispy and brown, because if you do that, then they just kind of get soggy and gross. So you just blanch them, take them out, dry them off, let them chill. So you cool them, like, on a windowsill or something, or you can even put them in a fridge if you want. And you only cook them for like a couple of minutes so that the potato inside is cooked. Once the potato inside is in fact cooked, however, what you do is then you refry them at a higher temperature, and then the bombness happens.
I like those Orida potato things where there's like the fluffy mashed potato inside. Can you make me those?
Yeah, that's the kind of that's what happens when you make a double fried French fry.
All right. Do they automatically look like smiley faces, or is that like...
Yeah, you gotta make them like smiley faces.
Oh, that's shitty.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate.
What's the catch to this whole thing here?
Oh, you'll see.
You don't have anything that I can tell that's gonna give you buffs, do you? I mean, I guess you're not gonna tell me, but...
I don't know.
Fuck it, let's take the damage. Who cares?
Yeah. But, yeah. And then you get a really crispy, delicious French fry, and it's awesome.
Sounds awful.
It's so good, dude. It's the first time I ever double fried the French fries. I've always heard about them, because that's how, like, the best, like, you know, Five Guys, they have good French fries. They double fry them.
They seemed okay. I never was that impressed. I mean, they're alright, but I didn't go crazy for them.
They're good. It's the chopped up fresh potato double fried. That's all it is.
I get it.
With salt. They give you a lot of fucking French fries, though, if you go to Five Guys.
I just remember being super greasy. But I guess, I mean, you want that sometimes, but I don't know. I wasn't in the right mood for that day.
I don't know how much they drain them of the oil. I like to blot out the oil because I also don't like them very greasy. Personally.
I just remember the bag was, like, kind of wet.
Yeah.
Just for presentation's sake, even if you want them greasy, you probably don't want the bag all greasy, at least.
Yeah,
maybe that's just me being sensitive or something. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I also, I don't like them too greasy, personally.
I mean, you can't get me too badly here since I regenerate this guy anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what just happened. You just made a lot of cards shoot out. Oh, you get first strike. So you just don't do damage and you keep your creature.
Yes.
So I basically just baited out that.
Nah, sorta. Yeah, basically. But I still get to do the damage that I wanted to deal, so... And I don't take any downside from it.
You don't do the 3 to me.
No, I don't do the 3, but I keep my creature, and I also do the extra 2 damage from Gutter Snipe, so I really am only missing out on 1 damage.
Oh. Forgot about the extra from the Gutter Snipe.
Yeah.
Alright. Let's start doing these then.
You're gonna tribute my hunger. Why are you gonna do that?
Ah, it's just the way it is.
Want to do that, Dad? Do. Did a DILF do?
DILF? That's a dad I'd like to fuck?
Mm-hmm. You got it. That's exactly what that is.
Wanna fuck that dad.
Do. Sometimes you want to fuck your dad, you know?
I don't like
Nothing
saying any of that out loud.
There's probably something wrong with it. It's against the law in most states. I think all states, actually.
You're in good hands.
Yeah, well, when you're with your dad, maybe not.
With Allstate.
You're in illegal hands.
You're in a League of Legends.
Yeah, you could be in a League of Legends.
Dude, how come we can't play as Snoop Dogg and Dota yet? Because right now, LOL is winning.
I heard about that.
What's their counter move? Do they have, like, I don't know, Gary Busey or something's gonna be in Dota too?
I know that, that in...
What am I doing?
In whatchamacallit, in Heroes of New Earth, they have a, I forget, I think it's a Snoop Dogg announcer. And actually, Snoop did say that he wanted to do an announcer pack for Dota, so that might be a thing.
Alright, that doesn't mean I can play as him.
That's true.
It's just not as good.
Did they make him just... I don't actually know what is that. I've heard about this, like...
I don't know, it might just be a mod. I just thought it was hilarious.
Is it like a skin?
Like,
is there a skin for a hero, or is he just a hero, or a champion, or whatever?
I hope he's just a champion.
That would be pretty cool if they actually made him his own champion. That'd be pretty funny.
He's kind of his own champion on a day-to-day basis, so I don't see the problem in it.
That's a good point.
Huh. Big surprise there, huh? Pretty weird how that all works.
Yeah, it's definitely the best one that I could kill off, I guess.
Wish it was at random.
Oh god. Yeah, that's a Hearthstone thing. Can't really do that with a tabletop card game.
So, what do you think about the whole Steam charging possible money for people's mods?
I don't think there's like a big... I know that people want to make it a big controversy. In my opinion, it's not really that big of a deal. It seems sensible to me, personally.
All right. Done.
I know, like, people have this, like, there's, like, I saw on r/Steam, people are like, oh, there's a way to fucking monetize something, this is not how you're doing, blah, 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 and all this stuff. Is like, well, I mean, I don't know. I've played a lot of mods in my life, and a lot of them are really good, and a lot of them act as a resume for modders to go work at companies, and a lot of times that's worked out, and that's cool. And I don't see why it's such a bad thing for them to get paid for it.
Did you know the split is actually
Yeah,
only
I heard.
25% to the modder? That's a little rough, though.
That is rough, but
It's like Nintendo levels.
Well, I wonder what the split is to Steam, to Valve, and to
The publisher. They didn't really
publisher.
say.
The only controversy that I see is, like, what are the companies gonna be feeling about this? That's
Well,
what I
it's
want.
their option whether or not they want to partake.
Right.
You know, it's up to every individual publisher, down to the granularity of every individual game.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. It doesn't seem like that controversial for the most part. The only thing is just like, hey, like, you're not going to make a lot of money doing this most likely, but
Yeah.
seems to be the case in a lot of things. Does that just straight up kill me?
No.
Oh. That's boring.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I had a kill card, man. I'd be back in the game right now.
Yeah. But yeah, no. I don't know. It doesn't seem to be that big of a deal to me. Like, in a negative way. You know?
Well, if the curation sucks, there's going to be a lot of people just exporting models from other places and putting them in the games and charging for them.
Okay, here's the thing. That is an argument that I saw levied against it, and I understand that, and that's
So
a
you can flag them
possibility.
too.
Yeah, that's a possibility, and I totally see that happening. I'm sure it will. But in my opinion, the market is going to work itself out, right? Like, there was somebody showed on the Steam thing in the paid marketplace already. Somebody had like a mod that just had like a sword for
Yeah, it was Yasha.
yeah, but it was for like a $7 sword.
Oh.
And it's like, yeah, okay, that's shitty, but nobody's gonna buy that, right? So, like, that mod is going to be unsuccessful. You know, like,
Well, people buy hats a lot on TF2.
yeah, well, no, hats are one thing, but, I mean...
Swords and hats are different.
Or, here's the other thing. If it does... by the way, I have lethal, Nick. If it does...
What?
If it... Sorry. If it does sell, then who cares? It's sold, like, right? Like... You know? Like, sure, you don't have to buy it. Like, it's an optional thing for you.
Yeah.
If you want to. Or you don't, you know? Like, whatever. It's just an option. And more options so that these guys who are working really hard making these mods can potentially get paid. Like, if they feel their mod is cool enough to put it behind a paywall and they think that's going to be financially beneficial to them, I don't see why that's such a bad thing.
Well, if you're being cynical and you're just looking at the whole picture and you're saying, hey, this is just really a blatant move from these big companies to just cash in on a bunch of free DLC they could have charged for, essentially, then there's that.
Yeah, but that's not the case, because they're not making them. The community's making them, and the community.
No, I know, but they're taking most of the take from it.
Well, yeah, I definitely don't like the split very much. But again, I don't know the split. I know the take from the modders, and I think that's too low. But at the same time, I don't know what the split is. Like, how much is going to the publisher of the game, how much is going to Valve, and stuff like that.
Right.
I think I agree with the argument that the modders are being paid too little in that case. Because I do. 25% is too low, considering they're doing the lion's share of the work.
I mean, they're doing all of the work.
Well, you do
outside
have to consider
of providing the tools for themselves.
That's
I suppose.
what I was gonna say. Like, the game companies themselves have to, one, allow for mod support in their game, allow for the Steam Workshop. In some cases, fully support modding, like in a game like City Skylines, say. So like, you know, in that case, they don't have to create the infrastructure for themselves. Yeah. But at the same time, though, you look at that, and you'd have to consider the industry standards for things like that, right? You could look at something like, if it's going to be a paid thing for a mod to come out for a game, then you have to consider the industry standard against other game-making tools, like a Game Maker, or a Construct, or a Unity, or a UDK, you know? And their splits are way better on those. Granted, I mean, it's probably a different experience making a mod than making it in one of those proprietary engines, but still, I mean, I think the split is a little low.
Keeping in mind, I'm basically just playing devil's advocate. I mostly don't think there's that much to talk about here other than just toy around with these various hypotheticals.
Yeah. I don't know. People are really... And you know what? What I see a lot is the argument that's levied against is, like, mods are meant to be free and stuff. Or, like, mods have always been free, blah-de-blah-de-blah-de-blah.
But we've never had this level of media till now, so...
Right.
There you go.
And on top of that, like, why? Like, what? I don't... Why do they have to be free?
Because it was kind of weird for people to charge for stuff that you didn't have permission to sell the assets of.
Right. But, I mean, if the game company is down for it, and the modder is down for it, whatever, right? Like, that's... Why is that so bad that they have that option? If you really want to play the mod, then, you know, buy the mod if they're selling it. Like, I don't... people have this weird entitlement thing, like, oh, it's just a mod, I should get it for free. Why?
Right, and it's not saying that all mods will be paid now, either.
Yeah, I don't
there's
think
still going to be free mods.
Yeah, I doubt that they will. I think what's going to happen is there are going to be popular modders who people are going to trust, and then they're going to put some of their stuff behind paywalls. Because...
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, like, you look at it, like, against something like a YouTube, right? You still need a large audience to want to even play your mod or watch your video in the first place.
That's where YouTube comes from, to direct people to those mods.
Well, yeah, that too. But you know, like, if you're just starting off on YouTube, you wouldn't... I mean, I don't think you should ever, but also, you wouldn't immediately go for, like, well, I'm going to put my Let's Plays behind a paywall. You know what I mean?
There'd probably be one person that's like, wait a minute, I gotta see what's going on back there.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm gonna spend for this. This is gonna be a good deal.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, like, I don't know. I don't see the huge controversy about it. Personally.
To have gained slightly more goodwill in my eyes would have been to allow something that we were toying around with the idea for, like, a single subscriber channel kind of thing, where essentially you have, like, a Patreon that's built into Steam.
Yeah.
So if you really like a creator, you could support them across all of the platforms they choose to do things on.
That would be cool. I would like that on top of this, honestly, as well. Because, I mean...
Like a deluxe. Like, get access to their whole portfolio for $10 or something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I think it's... I think... giving people who are creating things enough money so that they can... you know, put food in their face and live, and it's something that I derive enjoyment from, I really don't see the downside.
But we would also be kind of predisposed to say that, considering our position in the world.
Well, I mean, yes and no, though.
Be a little hypocritical, no? Not
well, I mean, it would be. Slightly. I mean, I think it really is a different thing between, like, a Let's Player and a mod maker. Yeah, I mean...
I see a lot of parallels myself.
There's a lot of parallels, but at the same time, they're fundamentally different. Like,
Well, I'm aware they're two different things, yeah.
No, but I mean, like, in that the amount of work put in for, say, your average Let's Play is different from the development of a mod, which is just like the development of any other game, basically.
Look at a whole playlist of a Let's Play, then, versus one mod, then, or something like that. I don't know, you could make...
I don't know, something like that, yeah, but, I don't know. I don't... If you don't want to pay for the mod, don't pay for it.
What happens when they release a broken game and there's, like, a $10 mod that makes the game work properly?
That one, that's, like, a weird one, too, right? Where it's, like, what if the guy who made, like, DS Fix
That's exactly what I was thinking, yeah.
Right? Like, it's like, oh, From Software just didn't bother to do it or couldn't do it.
They just shit themselves, and this guy fixed it
Yeah.
all. But he wants $10, so the game costs $10 more.
I would be more mad at From than him, because it's like, hey, he did the job that they should have done in the first place.
And then they're gonna take 25% of it anyway.
Right. Or however much. I mean, I don't know
that's
what the cut
ugly.
is. Right? That is a bit frustrating, right? When it's like a mod that's like a quality of life improvement fix rather than like a conversion or something.
And these come out constantly now. I mean, Watch Dogs had one. I'm sure GTA 5 will have them soon. GTA 4 had 1,000 of them.
Well, yeah, GTA 5 is probably gonna have the ENB, which is like just like better lighting and general.
Right, because we can't kill our freaking GPUs enough yet.
Yeah, yeah.
Really.
But
can't wait to see it. Honestly, I just wish I had a better one.
I'm sure I'm excited for any graphical mods for GTA 5 because right now my beast computer can run everything and it is awesome. It's nice having.
No, the advanced though, you got to turn the long shadows all the way up.
Oh, I did. I turned everything on the highest for everything, and it's great.
Dude, TB had two 980s and it was still not totally perfect.
Really? Well, SLI has a lot of issues though.
Well, this one's designed for it for once.
Oh, really? Well, apparently not if TV's having trouble with it. I don't know.
Well,
I
their
run the
claim
game,
is that it, yeah.
I mean, I run the game at a perfect 60 with all of the settings at the highest levels.
Oh, I
the
think
only thing I have off.
144.
144 what?
FPS. I think you wanted to go to that next, you know, the Ultra HD.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I thought it was over 100 that he wanted.
Okay. Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm sitting at the solid 60 all the time. Like even on it doesn't chug even when there's a lot of things on the screen or explosions or anything like that. So it's nice.
I'm like so into the GoPro version of that game where you're just like fucking riding dirt bikes around in first person mode.
In first person, yeah.
Just as fast as you can.
I only play in first person. I like it a lot. It's fucking visceral. Like some of the like the kills when you have that Euphoria physics engine of how people die and seeing that in first person is like kind of sickening sometimes. Like stabbing someone with a knife in first person is fucked. Like it's like a disturbing experience.
But then there's weird shit that takes you out of it, like when this lady was walking her dog and they walked up a slight incline and the dog fell like a foot and just straight up died.
That's pretty
it would just hear, arr! And it was like, oh fuck, really? It died from that? That's ridiculous.
That's pretty good.
And then there was the one where the dude was trying to like chase me into a pool, but he didn't understand how edges work, so he like walked into the air over the pool for a minute and then turned around.
Oh my god, like a Yosemite Sam.
Yeah, like he just realized he was treading water in the air and then just turned around and didn't anymore.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
So yeah, it's not perfect, but it's way better than anything I've ever seen before, aside from those two things.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, GTA 5 is a lot of fun. I'm very much enjoying that game.
Doesn't it feel like the big step up we've been wanting for a long time in terms of like overall presentation?
I don't know if I would go that far.
No, but like if you're gonna say something's next gen, whatever the fuck that means, like I would say that's pretty next gen.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not 360 gen.
Although, like at the same time though, like it doesn't look that much better than say something like a, you know, Far Cry.
Right, but it's the presentation. Like, the whole first-person thing and the whole way everything interacts feels really solid.
Yeah, it's nice. It's definitely nice. I definitely agree.
It's the scope, too, because, like, in Far Cry, I mean, it's a first-person shooter. GTA is a lot of things.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And knowing that's all right there with no loading at all, really.
Yeah, that's nice. That is really nice that you could just go fuck around and do whatever and not have to worry about a loading screen or anything like that. I mean, those GTA games, man, they know how to do open world. I mean, they did kind of almost pioneer the concept in the way that it is regarded in the modern sense. And, you know, they just fill everything with stuff. A lot of shitty open worlds don't do that.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm still waiting for the simulation of it where you don't have to commit crimes and you can just live out a life in that environment. I want that so much.
That'd be pretty cool. Although I'm gonna backpedal a little bit on what I just said. Not exactly, because sometimes filling a huge open world with stuff that isn't really stuff is also really good. Like, for instance, another Rockstar game, Red Dead Redemption. There are huge expanses in that world that don't have anything that's particularly interactive, but there's like a bunch of beautiful landscapes and stuff, and there's you get that sort of old Western vibe of like treading across the countryside and stuff, and that's cool. Like that is stuff in its own way, you know?
It is. I felt like with that game, and I fucking loved that game. Like I would fucking kill to get that on PC. I still want to play it again so badly, but I really think they needed to balance a little bit away from the filling up all space, even in that game. Because I thought that there were far too many instances where you'd think you were basically alone, and like you step off your horse, is like 5 coyotes and 3 snakes attack you at the same time.
that is true. Yeah, it is filled with wildlife.
I mean, there are places in deserts where there's just nothing.
Also, make the skinning, like, after I see the skinning animation once,
I've seen it.
I'm good.
100 fucking thousand times. Yeah.
I don't need to go through the whole like 5 to 10 second cutscene every time I want to skin something. It just makes me not want to skin anything.
Especially when it's so central to the gameplay that you need to do it constantly.
Yeah. Agreed. Oh man, if they made another Red Dead Redemption, or
slight missteps game, though, that game was so close to like nearly perfect to me.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, that game was fucking great.
Like, I would give that a 98 out of 100 if I had to.
I mean, you know, so few games tackle, like, the Wild West theme, and when they do, they usually do it poorly.
Right.
But fucking Red Dead Redemption just nailed it.
But you know why we love that game? It was half ambience and half the character. Like, you love that character.
Yeah, John Marston is great. And what's cool about it is especially in that game, you get to kind of, you know, play him however you want to play him, because there's a bunch of like random events that happen throughout the world and stuff, and there's like a small modicum of choice that you have,
right? And then the undead invasion sometimes.
Yeah,
that'll come out.
That is one of the best expansions to a game ever. Was that DLC?
Oh,
that was so good. Like, did you play through that whole thing?
I have it, but I don't think I ever actually played it, because I always wanted to 100% the game, so I wanted to wait until I did that, and I just never 100%. I came pretty close, though. I think I got, like, 90-something.
Dude, you should have played it. It is awesome. Like, you can actually, in the wild, the 4 horses of the Horsemen of the Apocalypse are in the wild, and you can wrangle them and ride them.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it's fucking sweet, and they all have different powers too.
All right,
it's cool. It was real good. That was really awesome.
So like the team that made the port of GTA 5 or made GTA 5 on PC, I should say, please just go
back.
Do it again with that. We would like it quite a bit.
God, yeah, I would love that. Or just the new Red Dead game. I'm fine with that, too. You can make a new Red Dead game.
I mean, if it's easier for you, just make the first one again. I'd be fine with it.
I
really want to play through the whole thing a second time. I wouldn't mind.
Me too. I only played through it once, and I played it a long time ago now. And I have...
I don't remember if I thought it was long or not.
It was... I mean, you know, really, in reality, the Red Dead game was pretty much GTA with horses and, you know, cowboy guns and stuff. And really, though, like, those games are long. They have RPG-like lengths to
I say that I wasn't sure because I got lost in the game. I just didn't know how much time had passed anymore. I was just actually really immersed.
Well, that's the other thing, I guess, is that generally when you're trying to get from point A to point B, there's like 30 things on the way that you want to be like, oh, what the fuck? What is that?
Right.
I'm gonna go see what that is. You know? Or like an event happens, or like a random freak character or something appears. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then of course the multiplayer was also really good in that too. So the whole thing was like solid purchase.
Red Dead Redemption, man. That was.
What year is it? 2015. Oh, you should still buy Red Dead Redemption if you haven't played it to this day.
Absolutely. It like nothing is lost on the age at all. Like it's a great game still. It hasn't stopped being a great game. You lose some with age, with like if you try to go back to play like GTA 3. I don't know if I
Yeah, I
would
think it's finally
suggest.
time that GTA 3 is not quite as exciting anymore.
Yeah, I don't think people would have a great time going back and playing that. And as much as I love Vice City, maybe not. San Andreas, however, maybe? If you never played San Andreas, it's a definite maybe.
It has the biggest scope, I think, of any
It
GTA that I've
does.
ever seen. It's
That
massive.
and that's why I say that is because you get 3 cities in that game
And like
and
a
like a
ton
huge
of countryside
wilderness.
and a desert. It's
Yeah.
huge.
That's an enormous game. And you can do like some awesome shit in it. Like you can fly 747s from one city to the other and it doesn't happen instantly. Like it's a big map. Like it takes a while even in the 747. So it's yeah, that game is enormous and it's cool. I mean, you know, older GTAs have all GTA has always had the problem of like the gameplay itself wasn't that great, you know?
Well, you made your own fun, and it was the idea,
Right.
and then they started giving you the tools to really embrace the fun you wanted to have.
Yeah, yeah. I think the gameplay is pretty good in GTA now. Well, especially since there's so many things.
Yeah. When GTA 3 came out, it was kind of on the back of people going, man, I really love that game Driver on the PS1, and I really wish there were more games like that, only like you can get out of the car.
Right.
And they're like, fuck, here it is. We did it, and it's
Yeah.
like really solid, and there's even other shit to do when you get out of the car. Can you believe that?
Yeah, yeah.
And they did the whole day-night cycle thing, and the city felt kind of alive, and there was stuff going on everywhere. I'll never forget that was like a formative moment in gaming for me when I actually turned that on for the first time. And I just stood in the back lot near the first spawn point and just watched the sky change. Like, I've never seen this before. This is incredible.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'll ever forget that that was that incredible, even if the game looks like shit now. Which, you know, it looked amazing at the time, but what do I know?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, I remember seeing Link to the Past and seeing, like, the rain in the first scene and being like, how can graphics get any better than this? There's no way! There's no way!
Well, I don't even group those two things as, like, they're apples and oranges to me, because, like, 2D sprite art really still looks fantastic. I mean, it holds up with age.
Especially in that era.
Anything 3D
yeah.
doesn't usually.
Yeah, it really doesn't. Most of it looks garbage now.
It's a pile of different things that you're dealing with. It's the poly count, it's the actual art applied to those models, and it's the animation on top of it. Because even if something looks like really nice, if it animates like shit, you're gonna notice it right away.
And I think when they ended in the 32-bit era of like sprite art, it was at the pinnacle of what you could do with sprite art. I think that looks like a lot of the stuff that came out around that time, like especially like something like A Link to the Past, which still looks beautiful. You know, that was really good. And you can look back at that and you can still say, yeah, that looks fucking great. It still looks awesome. And then you kind of have like rose-colored goggles on when you're looking at like 8-bit stuff. Like I have nostalgia looking at that stuff, but it doesn't really look great.
Well, what was the pinnacle of sprite art for you, though? You said the 32-bit era.
Yeah.
Did you have a game in mind?
Link to the Past. Link to the Past, I think.
Oh, that's the 8-bit era. I'm sorry, the 16-bit era.
Well, I guess that's 16-bit. Yeah, I guess you're right.
32 is PS1.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because I would say, like, the nicest shit that I've ever seen that's sprite art is stuff like Blaze Blue.
Yeah.
Just really high-res, striking art with fantastic animation. Mm-hmm. And then there's games like Odin Sphere on the PS2.
Yeah.
Really, really polished.
Yeah.
Muramasa also.
That's not so much sprite art, though, right? I mean,
yeah,
I guess in a...
It's animated.
I mean in sort of like a... Yeah, I don't know.
You mean like 16 by 16 boxes?
I mean, yeah, sort of. Like, it, you know...
Yeah, it's all sprites, though.
See,
it's just
it is, yeah, but... I mean, technically, Super Meat Boy is sprite art as well.
Yeah. I mean, not technically, it literally is.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like... I don't know. When I say sprite art, I guess I don't mean what I actually mean. Or what it actually means. I mean, you know, where you can kind of still see the pixels. Individually.
Okay, well, yeah, that's just a different thing.
Yeah. But, yeah, no. But then, you know, you look at the early 3D stuff, and the early 3D stuff looks like trash, and that's just because, you know, it was early. It was like the beginnings of them even trying it at all.
There's an interesting kind of balance for me where if you look at something in Final Fantasy VII, which is kind of a great touchstone for so many people because they all know what we're talking about here, it looks really abstract. Like the characters, when they're in the map walking around, the guy's arms are little twigs with a big box at the end, and it just looks really silly. And in some cases, you can use that as sort of like a characteristic level of an art style. Whereas in other cases, when you look back at it, you just go, wow, like what were they doing back then? Like, couldn't they have come up with a way that made that look a little bit more elegant?
Mm.
So for me, I feel like Final Fantasy VII falls on the wrong side of that. But I think a lot of people really don't see it that way. What do you think?
I think it is a. I think if you're trying to make a game that is going to stand the test of time, it is a
Yeah.
mistake to go for photorealism in every case. Because
Did they
technology.
though?
Well, no, but I'm. Well, no,
They
not
went for like
really.
pseudo
They
realism,
did
but
like the pseudo realism, pseudo like we're gonna make it
it's
look like
fictional realism.
pre anime
Or
type cell shaded
we mean
imagery.
naturalism every time we're saying realism, by the way. But
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
go ahead.
basically, yeah. But in general, I think that if you want a game that's gonna stand the test of time, photorealism is just a mistake. You just don't want to do that because it's gonna look ugly in like 5 years. Whereas you look at something like Wind Waker, which is like super hyper, you know,
Well, it's cell shaded.
yeah,
They
eh,
found their own motif for it. They found their own
yeah,
pattern of design there.
that game is gonna look good forever. Like it still looks good, and it's gonna look good for all
Yeah.
time.
No, you're totally agreeing with everything I just said. I was just wondering, with specifically with Final Fantasy VII, if you felt that that was on one side or the other of that,
I would say it's on the other. It's definitely doesn't look good.
right?
And there's only so much you can do. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much of this is nostalgia or not, but I still think something like a Super Mario 64 looks pretty good.
Yeah, no,
But
Mario they approached really kind of tastefully in a way. I mean, it looks blocky, but they kind of used the blocks in the right way.
yeah, yeah, I think so too. I think it still looks pretty good. Like I still, I mean, yes, it looks dated, obviously, but
But they played to the strengths of the tools that they had at the time.
yeah,
Whereas I think a lot of people kind of exceeded their boundaries when they wanted to set the limit for where they put their art style, and then it just looks bad very soon.
hmm yeah. I think Ocarina of Time kind of treads that line as well because, again, I don't know how much of this is nostalgia. I think it looks pretty good, but then there are parts because a lot of what Ocarina of Time did is they like didn't try to push the boundaries of the graphics by just putting like, painted on images like when you got into the castle town or the Temple of Time or something. Except it's like super low res, and you can see it now. Like it looks like a really low
Yeah.
res
You're talking
image
about
of
the
a
transitions
pre-rendered.
between pre-rendered and actual dynamic scenes.
Right. Yeah. Well, yes, and also just like some of the areas. Like I don't know if you remember, but if you go into like Castletown or
Yeah.
like the Temple of Time, it's just like a painted image on a skybox essentially.
Hmm.
And there's a little
Yeah.
bit of it that's actually rendered, and then there's a pre-rendered photograph planted against the wall, and it's low
They,
res, so it looks shitty. But
they must have used all the geometry in like the ground areas around it or the surrounding buildings.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it was mostly because they had a lot of characters moving around in the Castletown area. Also, I think it was partly because they probably for the detail that they wanted to show in something like the Temple of Time, which was supposed to,
Hmm.
they wanted a locked camera angle, so that you can view how big it is, and they also wanted it to be very complex and detailed, and they probably couldn't really graphically achieve that without, pre-rendering it, like taking a picture and plopping it against a wall. Um,
What was pre-rendered in the Temple of Time? I don't remember that part.
Well, it's not in the Temple of Time. It's outside in the courtyard. So like when you,
Oh, when you're seeing the stuff in the background, you mean?
yeah,
All
yes,
right,
sort of,
sure. Yeah,
yeah.
I'll buy that.
Like if when you walk into the courtyard around the Temple of Time, there's like the ground that you can all walk on, and
Yeah.
then there's a fake wall with a picture of the Temple of Time.
Okay.
And like I said, it's low res, so it looks pretty shitty. But
If
I
there's
understand why they were trying to do that, and then at the same time, it was also sort of a thing of the
Yeah.
early 3D era as well, where, you know, they didn't understand, like, cameras. People don't remember this because, people who didn't grow up with that early 3D stuff weren't able to experience this, but cameras were one of the worst things in video games in the early 3D era. Like, and games tackled them in different ways. Games,
Yeah.
some of them tried to let you control the camera, and that was all glitchy and weird. Sometimes they restricted your control, but gave you a little bit of control. Super Mario 64 is an example of that. And some of them would go full on, like, okay, you're operating in a 3D environment, but you're going to see the angles that we want you to see, like a Resident Evil.
Well, you have to also keep in mind there was an era. Well, PS1 existed before the control stick existed, also.
Right, yeah, that too.
And that is rather important when we're talking about shit like this because people forget you just had no buttons left to set up cameras.
Yeah.
All you could do was hit select and be like, oh, it got further away. Oh, it got closer. Oh, it's in my head now. All the walls have all broken. Like, yeah.
Honestly, that was one of the best things about Ocarina of Time in the early days of 3D.
Buttons.
Well, the C buttons were actually just used for the
All right. Well, I mean Mario 64.
Mario did that. Yeah, Mario did the C button stuff. But no, but with Legend of Zelda, in a like vast desolate landscape of shitty camera controls, Ocarina of Time had pretty fucking cool camera controls because yeah, you targeted everything, and if you didn't target things, it just centered the camera. And then the camera was mostly dynamic, and it kind of followed you around even if you're not Z targeting to center the camera. So it was nice. It was really good in that day. Now it seems a bit archaic and unnecessary because you have that second control stick that you can, you know.
Well, if you think about it, it's still a little bit unintuitive on a controller to have to switch back and forth between the face buttons and the right analog stick.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, you would want to have a position for your hand where you can reach all the buttons you need at all times and not have to quick change. I mean, I don't even think we think about it anymore. It's just become like an extension of our minds to just do that.
Yeah.
But, you know, mouse and keyboard is a little bit superior at times for that reason, that you don't have to keep changing positions.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, even in GTA, I still find that whenever I'm playing with the gamepad, there's a couple of situations where, like, I have to reach over with my left thumb to touch the camera control so that I can stick on the face buttons, or I have to, like...
Dark Souls for me, or even Bloodborne. You're trying to run and change to see if something's behind you or next to you, and you got to keep... Like, there's not enough fingers there.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, the Steam controller, and this is something that I don't understand why they didn't do this with the PS4 and the Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems like I thought about this before even the Steam controller came out and had this on there, is you have like 2 to 3 fingers on each hand holding on to the back of the controller. Those can all be used for buttons, you know?
Yeah, but you also don't want to have too many buttons either.
I don't know, man. I don't mind having it. Like, I'm holding a gamepad right now, and I have a couple of gripping fingers that could totally just be used for, I mean, a lot of the times, too, like, I alternate with my... Most of the time, I alternate with my pointer finger among the trigger and RB, or on a PS1 or a PS controller, you know, R1 or R2. You know, and then I have my pretty dexterous middle fingers for use in the spot where like 2 obvious button placements could be, which would be pretty nice. Like, I would be totally into that. And the Steam controller has that, which is pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about that, honestly. So.
I think we've converged on several ideas toward the best controller that could exist, but I still think maybe we haven't nailed the absolute perfect one yet.
Yeah.
I'm really happy with the 360 one. Like, I'd probably use that for years still, but I think there's still something out there that's slightly better.
Yeah, they could definitely... It's weird, though, right? Because, I mean, it's been... That last generation was 10 years, you know?
Right.
So, people just expect to play on a controller that looks and feels that way. So it would be hard to introduce something that is
It's
new
drastically
and
different.
different.
But I
Yeah.
don't think it needs to be drastically different. I think it just needs a little bit of a tweak, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how you would do it.
Like what they did with the PS4 DualShock is like they added this touchpad in the center, which is completely unintuitive. It
Hmm.
doesn't make any damn sense. Any game that uses it for gestures or to like tap it as it, because they use it as basically like the start and select button now,
Hmm.
based on where, because there's also an option and a share button, but neither of those are start and select.
Hmm.
So you tap this huge bar across the center of your whole controller, and then it's also like for selecting granular things with your finger. And it like, where does your hand do that? You don't have enough space to reach your palm across the front of all the buttons to really have a good range of motion across that pad.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel natural to me. And every game that employs it, I feel like I wish they didn't. I also find it very odd that the R2 and the L2 triggers don't have anything behind them. So when you put down the controller, like on your knee or your leg or something,
Oh
it
yeah.
often just gets pressed.
Yeah,
Which,
I've seen that with
why?
that controller. I don't know why they did that. Just to differentiate themselves, honestly, is what I think.
Like it feels good to pull the trigger, but at the same time, I'd rather not have it feel that way and not have it accidentally be pressed ever. I mean, even with the last generation, when I'd put it down on my bed sometimes when I'm watching Netflix, and of course they fucking mapped it to those buttons, so it just fast forwards. Like, could you really like not do that? Because then I have to watch a bunch of commercials and then go back and watch the commercials again to get back to the beginning.
Right, yeah.
I mean, rather on Hulu, not on Netflix. They don't have commercials on Netflix.
Oh, dude, he's totally right. Sorry, I'm also reading comments while listening to you and trying to
No, you're
interact
just
with things.
emphatically agreeing with my ideas about controller ergonomics.
No,
I agree.
I do agree with you though, for real. Like it's shitty,
Right.
like it's stupid.
And then we've got the Wii U tablet, which is
Ugh,
like,
don't even.
come on.
I don't. I don't want
What
to
are
go
we
there.
doing?
It feels so like flimsy. It really feels like it was made from shitty. I mean, like when I hold an Xbox controller, it doesn't feel like it's gonna fall apart. You know, it feels like there's thick plastic there that is hard, and I could fucking huck it
Yeah.
against the wall, and it'll be
Well,
fine.
probably don't do that,
I
but
mean,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I probably can't do that, but it feels like I could.
I don't recommend
With
it.
the Wii U gamepad, it feels like if I like touch like if a feather drops on it, it'll explode.
Also, the
You know,
touchscreen just feels so like a toy.
garbage. Yeah, it does. It feels like one of those what is it, the leapfrog books?
Yeah, exactly. And you know
Yeah,
why? It's because it would have been too fucking expensive for it not to have felt like a toy. So
yeah,
maybe at that point you go, "Would does this make sense? Do we really want to do this?
yeah.
We're gonna make a subpar part." Oh, fuck.
I understand. I
Okay.
mean, the applications are pretty cool, but I mean, remember, Dreamcast already tried, and look what happened to them.
Well, that seems like a bit of a stretch, though.
I don't know, man.
You're gonna link the two button with
I'm
the
just
little
saying.
tiny 16 pixel screen. I don't know, 32 pixel screen.
I mean, Dreamcast did it way before Nintendo did, and it's the same basic concept. I mean, they couldn't achieve it with the technology at the time, but it was the same basic
Uh,
idea.
No, no, it isn't the same. Because you couldn't control it when it was in your controller. It was just a screen to show you options. It's only
Yeah,
when you took it out of the controller that it had buttons that were accessible.
right. Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure they would have allowed you to control it if they had the technology to do that at the time.
Right. Well, I think it's
That would have been
amazing
the
they even
idea.
went forward with that damn idea considering how limited things were back then.
Yeah, I know.
But
Yeah.
it just didn't make sense. It wasn't that helpful. And I mean, I like the idea of being able to manage my memory card like on the go, but at the same time, who needs to do that really?
Right. Well, and at the same time, like the Wii U gamepad in theory is like, oh, okay, I can see how that would be pretty cool. I mean, like taking away the HUD from the screen so that games are more immersive. Yeah. All
And
right.
then you've got to look down, which is the opposite of immersive.
Exactly. That's the other thing that it's just like, well, yeah, okay, then you have that problem, so it doesn't really solve the previous problem.
It
It
makes it
does make it
worse.
look pretty to anybody watching, but you playing, it feels like you're reading an instruction manual or something. And then on top of that, it's kind of uncomfortable.
I
And
really
like I
like when they
said,
tell you look at your tablet on the screen.
yeah. And it feel like I said, it feels flimsy. It does. It feels like you said, it feels like a toy. And it's uncomfortable, and I don't like it. But, you know,
Whenever I start up my Wii U, I'm like, I really wish I just could not have to look at my tablet at all.
yeah,
Can I just use my Pro controller exclusively? Why
yeah.
can't we do that? Anyway,
all right.
what's this comment you were on
I'm
about?
gonna read some of these comments here.
Do it.
Uh,
Dare you? I double dare you.
it's so refreshing to hear you talk about things that we know if a movie ends up being bad, you'll admit it. Thanks for being so honest. What are you excited for? Thank you. I just wanted to read a compliment first to start
Oh,
off, but
that's
but
nice.
no, but for real though, like yeah, I especially with movies, I think I'm well vetted enough in film that I can judge when a trailer like when through a trailer whether a movie is going to be bad. You can't I really think you can't judge whether a movie is going to be good from a trailer, because you can have a shitty trailer and a great movie. That's happened. There's actually several precedents for that.
Some random ass guy could have made that trailer that had very little to do with the development of that movie.
Yeah, no, exactly, totally. That actually is true. A lot of times movie studios just they outsource that like to companies that just make trailers.
Dude, that movie, The Judge, that came out recently, had like 4 different trailers, and all of them portrayed the movie in a completely different light. Like it was a different genre.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
like,
they do
what
that
the
too.
fuck is this
yeah.
movie?
That's the other thing is some of these trailers, like Edge of Tomorrow. Edge of Tomorrow is so weird
Is that
because
the Tom Cruise one?
yes,
Okay.
and see how that's like confusing to you, and that's not your
There's
fault. That's
a
because
whole jumble of sci-fi that I just don't remember which person.
it's really unfortunate because that movie was actually pretty good. Like that was a pretty decent sci-fi movie that has come out recently, but the way they marketed it is they fucked everything up. Firstly, they changed the name of the movie like halfway through the post-production process. And then they changed how they marketed the trailers. So like it started off with one tone and then it changed to a different one later on, and it just confused people. It was like, what is this movie? What kind of movie is this?
Was that the one where he kept dying and coming back, or was that a different movie?
No, that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Groundhog Day action film, sci-fi.
Because when I saw it one time, I was like, hey, this looks like an action movie. Another time, they tried to make it like a psychological thriller or something.
Yeah, no, they did that with that, and they've really super crazy fucked it up. And there's a good example. Like, they fucked up the trailers and the marketing for that movie, but that movie's pretty good. But yeah, so no, and yeah, to your point though, yeah, I really, I will give movies a chance to surprise me because it happens. Yeah, I mean, fairly frequently, honestly, to me, where I think a movie looks like I don't like the premise, trailer kind of sucked, you know, it's whatever, and then I watch it and it's like, wow, that's really good. I like that a lot, you know, or conversely, it's like, oh, that looks really good. I can't wait to watch that. Oh, it actually sucks. And I'm not the kind of man that gets too attached to my initial idea of a thing and having to fiercely defend it to, you know, defend my purchase or whatever. So, except for my shitty Logitech G930 headphones.
It's actually really interesting that we spent so much time talking about trailers, because honestly, that's like what we're in the business of doing these days with games. Like, we just are always speculating about, is this thing we just watched the trailer for going to be a piece of shit?
Right, yeah.
And then we start to disseminate it and break it apart and see what we can figure out based on what they've given us as little, like a breadcrumb trail.
Games are even more clouded in that shit that there's like impossible. It's impossible.
I mean, before the episode, me and Rob were breaking apart some Battlefield, Star Wars Battlefront, rather, footage to try and see if it was pre-rendered or if it was in-game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we do that on the regular, apparently.
Yeah, no, totally. Okay, someone else said that I was hot in my film school video.
There you go.
We need a magic tournament of shame.
That's not gonna happen, but
Never
I wish
gonna happen.
Could.
Oh, and this is the one that I gasped at earlier in this episode.
Okay.
Is I was totally wrong. There was an AT-AT on Endor. I totally forgot. That's right. I mean, it didn't. I don't think it appeared in the battle. Or I could be wrong about that too. I haven't watched Return of the Jedi in like 2 or 3 years, but I don't think it appeared in the battle, but it did show up at the beginning, and I think they might blow it up with like a guerrilla attack or something.
There you go.
They used a bunch of gorillas on it.
Someone knows more about Star Wars than you. I'm fucking surprised.
Yeah.
That was a joke.
No. That's too easy to tell. Yeah, it's not. It's hard to learn. Finisher and learn spacing.
I really like the conversation we had today about the art stuff, because it was the one very rare intersection between your background in film school and my background in art.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Created, and then there's also guy in the Jedi, which in turn, they.
Are we going to talk about Star Wars for the rest of this?
Duckwork is talking about how important Jar Jar Binks was in the original trilogy.
Oh, get out of here.
And while, yes, no, I agree with you. He did do all of those things. And that's why they're shitty. Because he's a shitty character.
Well, from our perspective, again, they weren't designing the movie with us as the demographic in mind.
Yeah.
I don't think. Which is why that character even made any damn sense for them to even include, right? I mean, that's what they were doing.
Jar Jar worked for the High Council. How you want to take the meaning of high is up to you. For plays it. That's good. But okay, Argon Zach makes a good point. Do you really think that the lightsaber fights aren't going to be over the top in the new movie? No, you're right. They probably are. But I hope that they're not super ridiculous. Like in the new trilogy, they were just too ridiculous. And I really hope that they're not so super duper ridiculous.
What if the whole premise behind this new movie is to kind of like tease you for the whole thing? Like they never really go full on. They always use restraint. No?
No, because it's one. I doubt if it was that kind of project, J.J. Abrams wouldn't do it. I don't think.
Oh. That would be interesting, though. I would like to see how people reacted if that was what happened, although I agree. I don't think it'll happen.
Yeah. No, I mean, the Star Wars movies have always been, like, a self-contained story with, like, an open-ended ending. Like, oh, you know, some shit could happen. You know?
Like a Doctor Who episode, yep.
Yeah, basically. So, but, yeah, I don't think they're gonna, like, super cliffhanger mode your shit. Like, does John Boyega die? Find out next year.
That's not at all what I meant. I was saying, like, what if they just barely use lightsabers at all for the whole movie?
I'd be okay with that. Because in the first...
Like, one scene or something.
In A New Hope, they don't... Like, Luke barely uses the lightsaber.
Yeah.
In fact, there's only one lightsaber battle, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, like, a full-on, lightsaber versus lightsaber, and it's just Ben Kenobi versus Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And that is super, like... That's just him. They're like swinging at each other. They're not. But you know what that does, right? Or anything.
Like psychologically, that puts them on a pedestal that we've long since removed. It says this is like a higher echelon, and you only get to see this when we're in a really impactful moment.
No, that's you know what, Nick? That's the thing too. Is in the original movies, all of the battles that happened, the lightsaber battles, were symbolic of something. Like symbolic of a plot shift or a new direction or something like that.
But I'm agreeing exactly with that.
No, I know. That's I'm expanding on your point.
Okay.
And in the new trilogy, they just threw in like, oh yeah, and it would be cool if they fucked some shit up with some lightsabers
exactly.
here. And it's like it loses the impact.
They took the approach of a bunch of people playing freaking Jedi Outcast, and they're like, dude, it would be awesome if we just cut up this dude's walls with a bunch of lightsabers.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, save that for the game. Let us have our fun.
Exactly. Like, I'd rather see, like, a person who's, like, disciplined in lightsaber combat, show restraint, and is in, like, a fierce combat with another lightsaber duelist. And then I can imagine what it would be like if I had a lightsaber and I would just cut up some shitty dude's car who, like, cut me off or something. I don't need to see all the things that a lightsaber can do to it. I don't know.
It does the whole thing a disservice when there's a robot with like 5 of them just winging them around. Like, come on, show them more respect. These people are supposed to be venerated heroes in their own right.
For real though, like
let them defend themselves.
Showing all of those lightsabers all the time, all it did was it sort of demeaned the lightsaber as a weapon. It made it
look like candy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, everybody's got a fucking lightsaber in this universe, and, like, everybody knows how to do some crazy, wild shit with it. Whereas in the original trilogy, it's like, like 5 dudes could wield a lightsaber effectively, and it wasn't, and like I said, it wasn't like dropping an A-bomb on people. It was like a duel, like a gentlemanly duel between 2 combatants. It wasn't a super massive, badass killing machine.
It demonstrated that they misunderstood the weight of the lightsaber in the first place. They assumed that the power from the lightsaber came from the actual thing, but it comes from the person that wields it.
Yeah. Oh, totally. And in the original trilogy, they show that too, because Han uses the lightsaber, I think on more than one occasion. But, like, only Luke and, like, Darth Vader and Ben Kenobi can, like, wield it. and do shit with it. Even Luke in the original movie in A New Hope, he's shitty at using a lightsaber.
Yeah. They just imagine when they got all these people together that since they hold lightsabers, we would assume that they are powerful. But you have to demonstrate to us that they're powerful before they're allowed to wield the lightsaber. They had it backwards.
Yeah.
That's my take on it. And for them to misunderstand their own fucking movie like that just is embarrassing.
Yeah. Caspian Crawdad makes some good points on the fatality, the simple fatalities thing. And while I agree with his points, I still disagree with the game design perspective.
What are his points?
His points are like, they don't affect me, I won't buy them. And then another long thing about, like, if you beat me, you better perform a fatality and a bunch of stuff like that. But yeah, no, yeah, that's true. They don't affect me, and I'm not going to buy them if I play Mortal Kombat 10 at all. But it feels disingenuous to me as in their game design philosophy of making the game more simple and then offering people to buy simplicity.
I don't think it's a game design philosophy. I think it's a monetization philosophy, really, more than anything.
Yeah.
Which trumps game design in their minds, as far as I can tell, which is just sad.
Yeah.
You know, just show more respect to your product. You made something that, by most accounts, seems to be pretty good.
Yeah.
So just, you know, take some pride in that.
Yeah.
Don't water it down.
Yeah. First party.
Yeah. Before you go on, sorry. The first character of DLC is going to be Jason Voorhees.
Okay.
And the last character, I believe, is going to be Predator.
All right.
So you'll be able to fight Predator against Jason Voorhees in Mortal Kombat X.
That's pretty cool, actually. I don't know if you're cynical about it, because I'm into that. I wasn't
expecting you to be into that, honestly.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I kind of thought you would laugh at it and then go, fuck that. But
no,
right.
it's pretty funny, but also, like, I don't hold a great deal of reverence for the lore of Mortal Kombat.
Who does, though? I mean,
well, that's what I mean.
Does,
so,
like, come on, really? Who cares? Really?
That's what I mean. That's why it's like, okay, that's pretty cool. Whatever.
But I also don't want it to just be this weird mashup of a whole bunch of properties. I want it to at least be internally consistent. Although you're going to say you don't need to buy it, I hear you. They could have substituted it with 2 other characters in the Mortal Kombat universe, or made up 2 new ones, which they made several in this game. I was okay with that.
That too. Yeah, that's true as well. But I don't know. I think it's pretty cool that you could play as Spider-Man in Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. And I think it's pretty cool that you could play as, like, Link in Soul Calibur 3.
Oh, that always bugged the shit out of me.
Yeah.
I had the Xbox version. It was Soul Calibur 2, by the way.
Oh, was it 2? Okay.
Yeah, because it was, you got Link, Heihachi, or Spawn. I had the Xbox version that had Spawn.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Who I thought was the most badass out of the 3, to be honest.
Yeah,
I'm pretty amazed that they made Link happen in that, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. You know what, I guess I'm also not super into fighting games or the community, so I have sort of a lesser opinion on them, I guess, or their integrity.
I'm into fighting games. I'm super not into the community.
Yeah, that's fair.
I had, like, nothing but bad experiences with that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's pretty cool. I don't know. I'd like to see some Predator fatalities, him pulling out your spine and stuff.
Anyway.
And I'm reading your comments now. And also, thank you, commenters on my side. There were quite a few more comments today. I like it. There's inconsistencies thrown out the window all the time. Ah, that's true. Yeah, actually, you know what? I heard you guys talking about the Superman versus Batman thing on the NLSS.
Yeah, I think I was going to bring it up again, and then I forgot to.
Yeah, no. Here's what I'm going to say. Y'all is focusing on the wrong aspect of things. Batman versus Superman doesn't necessarily mean that Batman has to win by beating up Superman physically.
Yeah, there's 2 options. He beats him up physically, or he gets the kryptonite.
No. See, that's the thing.
Oh.
See, with the kryptonite,
there's more options.
You're focusing on the physical, like him physically beating Superman. He doesn't need to do that to win.
You mean he demoralizes Superman?
No, not even that. If Batman wants to achieve a goal, he will achieve that goal. And if that means he has to go through Superman physically, then he'll find a way to do that. But he doesn't have to do that. And this is why I brought up The Dark Knight Returns.
Okay.
That's not necessarily what needs to happen.
But Superman's like a one-dimensional character, so there's not a lot of reasoning with him. If he wants something to die, he kills it.
Right, but he doesn't.
All right. Well, you don't need to spoil whatever it is you're trying to not spoil.
I know.
That's fine.
And you know, when I mentioned this in the chat, Ryan also said, like, don't pull you need to read the comics to do it. But really, though...
Then we said because we just want to veil our own ignorance and just keep on going being idiots. That's what we said.
Well, yes, yeah, that's true, yeah. But I mean, also, it's just the... I don't know, it's the... I suggest that what's going to happen in Batman vs. Superman, because of all the other likenesses to Dark Knight Returns, is they're going to do something similar to what happens in Dark Knight Returns in Batman vs. Superman. And in that way, it doesn't need to be Batman punching Superman down till he passes out. That doesn't need to happen.
Okay.
Necessarily. For him to beat Superman. That's what I think a lot of people focus on when they hear that initial argument is like, okay, if you put like Batman against Superman in like an MMA cage and said go at it, yeah, Superman would melt Batman's brain in like a second. So, whatever. But that's not necessarily what it has what. Well,
the problem is I don't know what Superman's motivation even is or why he's pissed at Batman.
Well, yeah, I mean that's something I'm sure that the movie will hopefully...
If his gripe is, I really, really hate Bruce Wayne and I'm going to just destroy him, like, that removes a lot of other options about negotiating through this problem.
Well, in a lot of cases in which Batman and Superman face off, it tends to be, like a philosophical difference of opinion.
All right, one loves the Platonic version, the other loves the Aristotelian version. Who cares?
Well, I don't know. That's pretty interesting. I think it's like two philosophers going at it, except they're using fists and giant flying jets and stuff.
Yeah.
Instead of like words in a series of magazine.
Two philosophers
articles. Going
at it.
Yeah, just having sex, just sexing each other. I'm sure there's a lot of that in fan fiction.
Or like in real life, probably.
More like Star Snorers, am I right? I disagree, Unalda also.
Yeah, I'm with it.
But only for you, because they have wicked comments. Okay, I'll go watch Star Wars with you, Rob. Thank you, Cody. Maybe I'll make some new decks just for a few people. Yeah, alright, yeah, I might make a new deck. There are a lot of cards.
I don't ever want to make a new deck, but I might.
Yeah. Pikmin is a more creative gameplay concept. Splatoon is... Oh, this is real long. The game and things more creative than you're giving it credit for. No, I agree. I agree with you, Jimothy Cool. I mean, I've just skimmed over what you said, but I think Splatoon's a creative take. It's a Nintendo take on the first-person shooter team deathmatch game mode.
I don't know why you have to double back on that. I mean, we kind of...
I'm not really doubling back. I mean, I agree. It's a creative take on it. It's a Nintendo take on it, but it doesn't... But I still contend that it doesn't excite me because it's a game mode that I already played. And I don't know. It's just...
I can't be excited by Nintendo making the appropriate business move for them to continue existing. That doesn't do it for me. You guys need to freaking lift up the bar a little bit.
It's like when Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare, the first trailer came out, and you were like, oh,
why does this exist?
No, when I heard about that, I was like, oh, that's fun. That's a really good trailer. They put a lot of work into that. That looks, that's a pretty funny April Fool's joke. And it's
that's the one.
Oh, it's November.
Yeah, what happened there?
What are they? Why? And it's the same kind of thing. It's like, well, whatever, I guess. I mean, Plants vs. Zombies has... Like, what? Like, why? Like, it's a very confusing...
I should go on to say most people that have played that game have actually generally enjoyed it, but...
I'm sure it's fun!
You gotta be into it, I guess.
It's just weird. It's like, why do that?
It's like such a serious thing to do for such a not serious thing.
Yeah, it's weird, man. It's very weird. I'm sure it's fun. Although I heard that there was a lot of netcode issues with that game. So
Also, I don't think Rob means to equate Splatoon with a joke.
yeah, no, I don't. I don't mean it. It's just it's still like yeah, it looks creative. It looks somewhat interesting. It looks like something that maybe I would play in passing. Am I gonna run out to the midnight release for it? No. Am I gonna really love seeing new trailers on the Nintendo Direct for Splatoon? Nah, not really.
Yeah.
I don't. It seems fine.
I wonder if people even think about this, but we get kind of jaded to stuff based on like pre-release trailers and, press info that goes out. I'm not saying this is going to apply necessarily to Nintendo in this case, because they don't send me shit, but
Yeah.
in general, there's some games that like I am already like not interested in them because I've seen so much of it just from what's shown up in my inbox. I feel like this would be one of those things if it did show up in my inbox.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Here, Dark Inertia actually has a long comment about what I just clarified with the Batman versus Superman thing.
Oh God.
You don't have to focus on the physical Batman punching Superman. That doesn't necessarily need to happen for Batman to win.
All right, Superman's real dumb, Batman's real smart. Superman's real strong, Batman's less strong.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, that's the basic idea between the things. It's him trying to cleverly outsmart a god. It's basically
I don't think he can.
It's basically man versus god. That's what Batman versus Superman is, because
God
Superman
can
is
see
a
through
god.
buildings and freeze him to death from a million miles away. It's just silly to me. I'm sorry, I can't.
He doesn't need to. He doesn't need to do that. I don't know, man. It's like
what does Superman want?
It's Frank Underwood up against like.
I don't watch Mad Men.
No, that's
I don't
House
watch
of Cards.
I don't watch either one of those.
Dude, you should watch House of Cards. It's really good.
Okay.
We're trapped in tradition.
Bob's
They
Burgers.
kept the simple saber really interesting. I know. Trapped in tradition is okay. Yeah.
We're talking about lightsabers again.
Lightsabers. Yeah. I like I was wearing my Wonder Woman movie. Oh yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, every needs to reboot. No, I totally agree with you, Dead Serenity. And I probably agree with you on the reasoning for there not being. Well, I do and don't agree with you on the reasoning on why is like studios are afraid of selling a strong female lead to a primarily male demographic, which is like the superhero movies and stuff.
I hate that shit.
I'm sure that's part of it. Don't get me wrong.
It's the same fear of risk shit that we talk about all the time.
I think that's mostly what it is. It's the fear of risk on a strong female lead. Totally. I agree with you. And then, but on top of that, it's also like Wonder Woman doesn't have as focused a following as something like Batman or Superman does. And that's part of it too. Although I will say that DC is branching out. But at the same time, your point as to why they didn't do it, kind of like my argument also falls to pieces because they made that shitty Green Lantern movie with Ryan Reynolds, and it's like, who gives a shit about Green Lantern anyway?
Test marketing. Like, I think ultimately, if they had their ability to, they would just make a superhero movie about every superhero they could get their hands on.
Yeah.
Because people go to see them, mostly always.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, she or he is bringing up the point, either I don't know, but is bringing up the point that, like, why not make a Wonder Woman, like a solo movie about Wonder Woman?
No, I know, but I think the thing is they're moving in that direction, but there's just ones they know are more profitable, so why would they waste money marketing one that they don't know when there's ones they do know?
That's what I just said, though, is that, like, why then, if that is the case, which I agree with, I think is the case, why the fuck did they make a Green Lantern movie? Because who gives a shit about Green Lantern?
They must have had some demographic information that said maybe we can make this guy trendy. Maybe we can make him hip.
Yeah, maybe.
Like that email I sent you, the thing that you found that was on Reddit that I then sent you on Twitter that you knew already. It was like this email between some movie executive and someone else saying like, oh, I saw these things in culture that would be really cool if we put into the new Spider-Man movie because you should be more relatable.
Yeah.
Like Snapchat and what were the other two? Do you remember either one?
It was like, uh, oh, NBD, no big deal.
Yeah, yeah, we want
And social.
Spider-Man's lifestyle to be more like an NBD lifestyle because he's such a freaking badass anyway, right?
Like if he just tweets no big deal after he fights a bad guy or something. I think that would really hit the teen
That
demographic.
is exactly what I see in the movie industry, and
Yeah.
it's so annoying.
Oh,
Oh
and the
my
game
God.
industry too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like you live in the same world we do, right? Like,
yeah.
come on.
No, yeah, no, totally. Yeah. Um,
It's like you're aliens looking at us living and trying to figure out what we do.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
NBD.
Yeah. But I think a Wonder Woman movie would be cool. Apparently someone said that it is actually being made, a solo movie with her, and it's coming out in 2017. I mean,
2017, big superhero movie.
She's part of the big
Here.
three of DC, right? Like those are the three most popular DC heroes. Excuse me, are Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman, right? And then I guess Green Lantern comes in a fourth, or maybe he beats out Wonder Woman. I don't know. But
How many freaking superheroes have had movies now? Like the
Lots.
exhaustive list. I want to almost just like compile it.
Well, DC, not so many. Marvel, a lot. But and Wonder Woman falls under the DC.
That just started though, like in the late '90s, right? Like they just started pumping them out one after another, with no end in sight.
Actually, the trend for superhero movies kind of started. I
mean, live action ones though.
Yeah, in like I think it's the late '70s, early '80s with the Superman franchise, the original Superman trilogy.
I know that, but I mean like the real obsession, like the modern version of it, where it's like this is for the kids.
Oh well. Yeah, that was.
You know what I mean, like the kind of trashy ones.
Yeah, that's the '90s. Well, and also to a lesser degree, even in the Superman trilogy, the original ones, because there's actually a whole history with the second Superman movie, which actually is a very good movie if you look past all of the shitty aspects of it, like. Well, and that's a stupid thing to say. Like, without all the shitty shit.
Yeah, it's real good.
It's a good movie. All the good. If you just look at the good stuff, it's good. But what I mean is, so they had a director for
forgivable sins.
Well, not exactly. They had a director for the first one, and it was really good. But he did not like the studios. He did not work well with the studios, the moneymakers. He was more of like a Christopher Nolan type, where he wanted a relatable character and a believable story, not just, penny pinching and fan service for the kids and to sell more tickets, which is what the studios wanted. He wanted a story that was good, and it happened to be about a superhero named Superman. And in the second movie, that came to a head because he made most of the movie, and then eventually the studio, like, they wanted to add in like a bunch of like cross-promotion marketing shit, like Superman eating like a bag of Cheetos or something, shit like that, and he was just not having it. And eventually he just walked off. He said, I'm done, and he didn't do it. And then after that, when they got the new director, who was a little bit more of the studio's whipping boy, that's when you got scenes like Superman tearing off the sign on his chest and wrapping it around his opponents.
I still don't understand how the hell that happened.
And then, like, the scenes between him fighting General Zod in the city turned into, when General Zod puffed up his chest and blew Superman across the way in the city. They added in a shot of a man getting his ice cream fucking splatted on his face, and it's like, well, you could add like
it to be campy though.
Well, no, that's the other director did. Because that's what the studios wanted, because that would sell more, you could put it in trailers, and you could sell it to kids.
Yeah, there's your little beat when you put the trailer, and you're like, oh, look, it's funny, too.
Yeah, guy gets ice cream on his face, ha-ha, like, world is about to end from this evil villain, and only Superman can stop it, but also humor.
We could frame it any way we want.
And there's also some farts, like some people fart sometimes, isn't that funny? And then, they make the boing sound, and when things
Oh, that's a good sound, though.
Yeah, exactly. So that was sort of the issue with the original Superman, and then of course the third one is garbage because it wasn't the original director. I forget the name of the director right now, but
You know, I was thinking though, as I went through the years from like, well, I was born in '85, and there's always been superhero movies, but they didn't really come into their own until like the first X-Men movie, I think. Right?
Mm,
That's when they really started this era of it's all about superhero movies and we're gonna make so many. Because like, there's been
yeah,
Batman movies, even Batman and Robin, which was kind of shitty, but like, it was just kind of silly fun.
yeah,
And they've experimented with different tones with Batman, and then eventually they landed on the one that we're at now, which is so gritty and like, I'm
yeah.
Batman.
Well, that's the. It was. You know what it was is they. You had years and years of studios trying to sell you superheroes instead of studios respecting the property.
Mm-hmm.
You could look at like 1980s Tim Burton's Batman, or 1989, excuse me.
Batman Returns.
No, just Batman.
No?
It's
Just
called,
Batman.
It's just called Batman with Michael Keaton as Batman.
Okay.
And Jack Nicholson as the Joker. Like, people hailed that as like, okay, this is the first good superhero movie. Where I don't like it very much, because at the same, I know that Tim Burton doesn't respect the property, and there are a couple things in it that are just like I think Batman kills people in it at some points.
Oh, does he really?
Yeah, well, like, it's ambiguous, but
I don't
yeah.
remember.
There's like a couple of them where he like throws them out of a moving car, moving at like 90 miles an hour,
Shit,
and it's
dude.
like, well, all right, that guy's fucking dead. Like, there's no way
Yeah.
that guy's not dead. Like, throws him into a bottomless pit, and it's like, I feel like Batman wouldn't do that. But anyway,
I do think it had nice cinematography, though, if I remember
did.
that at least.
Well, see what happened. Okay, I need to corral myself, because this could lead to a very long discussion of comic book
all right,
history.
maybe let's not do that then.
Yeah, I will try to stray away. But Tim Burton's Batman was largely inspired by the 80s reboot of Batman, to where the character what the character was initially supposed to be. In the 80s, you had writers like Frank Miller coming in, or Alan Moore coming in, and writing Batman how they grew up reading Batman. Not in the golden age of comics, but in the silver age, where Batman was still like this, dark, brooding vigilante who did what was right, whether or not it was legal. And then you had the Silver Age, and then you had the Golden Age, and then there were all these weird, loopy, stupid characters that they added in, like the Riddler. Like, oh, I tell riddles before I do my crimes. It's like, oh, whatever. It's fucking gimmicky.
I thought that's the way it was meant to be received. Like, I thought they wanted it to be a kind of a campy thing, like, so it was easy to adapt into cartoons.
Well, they did in the Golden Age of comics.
Uh-huh.
When that happened, that
like
was
that TV show that was fucking ridiculous.
Yes, they tried to make Batman the same as Superman, like as a kids-friendly, like Mickey Mouse.
Yeah,
like
that dude sells you breakfast cereal because he knows what's up.
Yeah, exactly. But in the 80s, they went back to what Batman actually was, and they did reimaginings of those shitty, gimmicky supervillains and turned them into villains that were actually pretty interesting.
So the 90s was the cooling off period where they're like, we really want to do something dark, but we can't quite get over all that shit that just happened.
Yeah, it started with Tim Burton's Batman, where even though it was theatrical and crazy, the cinematography was really interesting, and the sets were really interesting because they were indeed inspired by that 80s reboot with like the really gothic architecture of
I remember the architecture. It sticks with me even now.
Yeah, it looks great. I mean, it looks really cool. It's like really stark, and it's awesome. It's really cool looking, and all of that, and even just the darkness and just the filming. And the lighting of that movie.
The contrast that would be like a freaking comic book. That makes sense.
Right, exactly. So, and that was one of the first movies that, like, people were like, okay, comic book movies are pretty cool. And then they forgot, it seemed, like, right after that. Then they tried to, like, oh, Batman sold! That means everybody's into it. You know what? Let's forget all that cool shit that Tim Burton did. And the reason that it sold well, and let's go back to the shitty way that wasn't selling and just sell it to kids. And they did that, and it was garbage. And you had all those really awful comic book movies, like Batman movies, that were just
people really
terrible.
Chase that kid dollar.
Yeah,
they know that's where the big money is.
It's a huge demographic. I mean, because like it's not just the kids, because they're not the ones buying the tickets. It's the parents bringing the whole families. So
Yeah, to get the kids in involves more people, so right there.
Yeah. So they did that, and there's all the shitty Batman, and then it felt like for years like, okay, yeah, superhero movies are never gonna be good. They're all awful and terrible. But then, you know, X-Men rolls around, the original one, and it's like, okay, that's pretty cool. They took him out of the spandex, took away some of the like more ridiculous aspects, and made it more about a story of believable characters. And definitely X-Men are the place to go, because X-Men has always been the place for like believable characters and real world struggles translated into like a science fiction-y dystopian society. And so like X-Men was pretty cool. And then I think the one that really tipped it over though was Spider-Man. Yeah, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, because that was, I mean, Brent Ratner's, or was it Ratner or Singer who did the original X-Men? I'm not sure, but that one definitely respected the property. But Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, like, you could tell that he grew up with Spider-Man, he loved Spider-Man, he wanted to make a good Spider-Man movie. And he did. I mean, that first Spider-Man movie was a good movie. And the second movie was even better. I think that was a better film. Because
dude, I don't remember shit about the first X-Men movie at all. Do you?
Yeah, no. There's a couple of
like anything.
Well, the whole climax of the movie is Wolverine is being fucked up by Magneto, and Magneto is trying to use the Statue of Liberty in New York. Yeah.
Okay. And I've seen this like 3 times, and I don't remember it ever.
Yeah. They actually created a character that later was translated into comics into a pretty cool villain. Was the Asian Wolverine lady?
Oh.
The lady Wolverine, Asian lady. She also has an adamantium skeleton healing factor.
Are you sure she didn't exist? Because like there was a lot of X-Men. Oh.
Yeah.
Because that was the one that I would say, if I liked any superhero properties, I liked the X-Men growing up. That was the one that I could relate to more. So which is why it's even more sad that I couldn't remember the movie at all, considering I knew about all the characters involved before I watched the movie.
I think it also helps that Hugh Jackman is like the perfect Wolverine.
You know? Right, and then I start to wonder, does this whole property only exist because Hugh Jackman exists?
Yeah. Maybe.
And then I start to think it might all fall apart.
No, I think that whole series is cast incredibly well, apart from one person,
Professor X.
And it's not. No, Professor X was great. I think Jean-Luc Picard did a great job as Charles Xavier. What?
I didn't get into him as a character. I thought he was kind of like shallow.
Yeah, well, I think he is also just a shallow character in general, but I guess you know what, they didn't come across with the mystery of Professor X as much as they should have. In the movies.
It was too warm and welcoming and like too friendly.
Yeah, okay. I agree with you on that front, but I mean, I think he's the only actor who could have portrayed him at the time.
Oh, maybe.
It just seemed a match made in heaven. But
I don't know shit about casting, so.
But here, the one that is just, and it's not even this actress's fault. Was Halle Berry as Storm. Just garbage. Just garbage. Because that
Storm was like a fucking goddess.
I know. In the comics and in like the animated show, she was a fucking badass. Like she was like straight up from Africa. She had an African accent. She was a fucking god. Like she controls the weather and causes hurricanes and tornadoes and shit. She was easily one of the most powerful X-Men. And in the movies, they made her like, you know, like afraid and like scared of things.
Yeah, they used her as a plot device, which I kind of resent.
Yeah, and it was like, man, why did you take away such a... Like, she even led the X-Men. Like, she was the team leader at many times. And, like, the character that they wrote for Halle Berry, there's no way that character could lead the X-Men. And that sucked. It was like, man, that is really weird. And, in fact, they also kind of depowered Rogue as well, because they made her a little girl.
Did they fuck up Jean Grey too? They always fuck up Jean Grey.
No, Jean Grey was pretty cool.
They always make her out to be such a big character, but like I just wish they would talk about her less a little bit.
Yeah, she's pretty boring.
And they made the whole arc focus on her always. It's like I just don't want to talk about her so much.
Rogue is a pretty interesting character, and they made her into a little girl, which was, I mean, I understand why, because they wanted a relatable teen character. But Rogue is also badass like superheroine as well. Because like in the comics, you already meet Rogue when she has all of her powers, where she can fly, and she's like, you know, she basically has Wonder Woman's powers. She can fly, she's got super strength, she can beat the shit out of people, and she has the power to suck out people's, you know, mutant abilities. So, yeah, they kind of depowered the women in that series, actually.
I kind of didn't want to have an X-Men where, like, they were all really learning what they're all about. Like, I know that's the best way to start a series, but I wanted them to be empowered in the first place, because it leads to escalating things.
Yeah, most of them were. And also, I disagree with the idea that you have to start with an origin story on a superhero. I really don't think you need to.
It seems like a template at this point, though.
It is, and that's, I think, silly, because people get tired of origin stories.
Especially when you do the same superhero's origin story, what, 3 times now?
Yeah. With Spider-Man. Spider-Man's going to have a new franchise soon.
That's what I'm referring to, yeah.
And they're probably going to do another origin story for him, which
I thought it was confirmed they were.
Yeah. It's like, why? Like, everybody knows the story of the origin story of Spider-Man. I just want to see him be a badass. Like, you don't need to, you know what? Here's a good... In Bob Kane's original Batman #1, you know how much origin story they had in that?
No.
3 panels. There was like it's like a 30-page comic, 3 panels of origin story, and that happens like midway through the comic. Like most of the first edition of the comic is just Batman walking around being a badass. You can expand on the origin later.
It's the show and not tell thing, right? Like, it's sort of like why I love Super Metroid, because they don't go through exposition for 100 years. You just figure it out through context. Makes you feel smarter as the viewer.
Yeah.
I prefer that.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Well, the good news is that Benedict Cumberbatch's portrayal of Doctor Strange, which I just felt the need to mention that Benedict Cumberbatch is in it because I am in love with that man. As I
didn't expect that I would like him, but now I do because I watched Sherlock.
Exactly, right? Like,
I don't think I had any other option either.
That's the thing, though, is like you watch Sherlock. I think people now, because he's so much more famous than just Sherlock, but like when you first see him in Sherlock for the first time, like that's how I experienced Benedict Cumberbatch, at least. First, what's your first experience with Benedict Cumberbatch? No, but
let me tell you.
I remember my first Benedict Cumberbatch.
He was like on the Daily Show or something, or like on some news interview, and I was like, I don't know why this guy is such a big deal. That's basically my first experience with him.
And then you saw Sherlock.
And then I saw Sherlock.
Yeah. No, but that's the thing. Is like when they first showed Sherlock as a character in the show, and it was him. And I remember hearing that Sherlock was a good show, and that's why I watched it. And then they revealed that was him. And I was like, who's this fucking freaky alien-looking motherfucker?
He really looks like an alien the first time you see him.
He's so weird-looking.
Like out of Men in Black, like the guy that pushes on his temples or something, and then like his forehead opens up and there's a little man inside. And now I don't think that anymore.
No, not at all. I think he's actually rather handsome.
He is kind of rather handsome, right?
Like, he cleans up very well.
Is he seducing us right now?
I think he is. I think Benedict Cumberbatch is getting into my pants.
Benedict Cumberbatch, slow your roll, man.
I know. No, but seriously, like, it's like, who the fuck is that? Guy's weird. And then you hear his voice, and it's like, oh, that's a good voice. That is a good voice.
There's something to this.
Yeah, and then you see him doing that character, and it's like, okay, there is literally no one else they could have cast in that role.
The words appear in the air because he can read them. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And it's like no, you know what? After a while, you're like, no one else could have done that. It's sort of like Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man.
Exactly.
Right? Because I remember when they first announced that Robert Downey Jr. was going to play Tony Stark, and I had always loved Robert Downey Jr. I loved him in so many things, and it was like, and the most recent recollection that I had of him was in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which I think is actually a really awesome movie that I think not a lot of people know about. It was when he was beginning to, renew his career. Yeah, did not work out so well with Val Kilmer, who played opposite him in that film. But anyway, so, and like they put Robert Downey Jr.'s cast as Iron Man, and it's just like, oh, I don't see that at all. And then you watch Iron Man, and it's like, I don't think any other person could have been cast as Iron Man. I think he's the only person who could have played Tony Stark.
Now, Hugh Jackman, you say he's the perfect Wolverine
Yeah.
because he looks like him, and I guess he sounds... I don't think he actually sounds exactly like him, but, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
He does the role fine. He fits it just fine.
Yeah.
But Tony Stark, I'd say 10 times better because his
Yeah.
character is so fucking lovable. Like, you love to hate him, you hate to love him.
Yeah.
The men want to be him, you know, that whole thing.
Yeah. Doctors hate him.
Yeah, that...
10 easy ways.
10 easy ways.
Become Tony Stark. Yeah, no. No, yeah, I totally agree.
I couldn't want another superhero movie any more than from him.
Yeah. He's perfect. He is the perfect Tony Stark. And in fact, the comics have changed to reflect his portrayal of Tony Stark.
Fantastic.
As they should, because it's better. It's good. I mean, it's basically the same, but I mean, but they...
What an honor that must be.
Yeah, no, totally.
I acted so well, they changed it for me.
they didn't... I maybe using a bit of hyperbole. They didn't change
Oh.
it super much. I mean, he's still fundamentally the same character, but, you know, they added some Tony Stark mannerisms from Robert Downey Jr.'s performance, and, you know, that's cool. He's just the perfect Tony Stark. And also, what we initially started on this tangent talking about Benedict Cumberbatch because he's so dreamy.
Oh, yeah.
But I love the way that you said "oh yeah" and that.
Well, I'm
"Oh,
stroking my
yeah."
beard as I say that.
Oh, to Benedict
Oh,
Cumberbatch.
yeah.
No, but he. So the Doctor Strange movie that he's in is not going to be an origin story. So that's pretty cool. I'm pretty pumped about that.
I don't know anything about Doctor Strange.
He's actually really cool.
I've entered the phase of my life where I watch things that start with Doctor, so maybe it's time I learn.
Yeah, Doctor Strange, man. He's cool. He's a wizard, actually.
Yeah, no, I know the parody of him on the other show, The Venture Brothers, right? That's supposed to be Doctor Strange.
Oh, really? Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I
I'm pretty
never really
sure
watched
it's
The
supposed to
Venture
be.
Brothers.
Oh, that show's really good. I think you'd like it a lot.
Yeah, I might want to watch that.
It's a Johnny Quest parody, ultimately, but it's also got, like, some spy shit in there. Well, you should watch it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also Benedict Cumberbatch is playing Doctor Strange, which I think he can pull off really well because he's Benedict Cumberbatch and he
that
doesn't
character
do
is
things
old.
wrong. Huh?
I thought that character was supposed to be, like, real old, like 60s or something, or late 50s.
No, not exactly.
No.
He does have white in his hair, but Benedict Cumberbatch is actually not super young, you know.
He looks young.
He does, but he's...
Is he, like, 40 or something?
I think he's 40-something, yeah.
Huh.
Oh, no, he's 38. So, but he's almost 40.
That's almost exactly what I thought, then.
Yeah.
I would have said 37. 36.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. Yeah. Still, though, God, those cheekbones, man.
Yeah, where do you buy those fuckers?
I know, they're so strangely large.
All right, we should let the audience go so we can suck off Benedict Cumberbatch now. Somebody's got to do it.
There's a lot of really
millions
good...
of adoring fans aren't going to do it.
You could look up Benedict Cumberbatch memes because there are some great ones where they alter his face and make him look even more like an alien. And it's real good.
All right.
Oh, also, he was brilliant in Enigma.
Edward Nygma?
Yeah, he played Edward Nygma. No, in Enigma, it's about Alan Turing, and Benedict Cumberbatch plays Turing.
Gotcha.
And he's really good. And that
yeah,
movie
he told me
is
to watch
actually
that
really
once.
good. Yeah, no, it's good. Watch it. So yeah, thanks for watching Magic, everybody. New episodes Mondays and Fridays.
See you later.
Bye. This is Alpaca Patrol signing out. Peace, fools.